Comedian Amber Ruffin says, because I was born with a common sense of a housefly, I could see even as a kid that stereotypes about Asian Americans felt too familiar. They weren't the same stereotypes that I was learning to externalize as a Black child growing up in a conscious environment. But because of that, I could see that they were stereotypes nonetheless, and I knew what stereotypes did. They stoked ignorance. They provided the space for silence, squashing people's voice, and that it led to discrimination and could eventually lead to violence. So these are things that I think growing up, knowing my own experience in America and the experiences of my people in America, that when I looked at the Asian and Asian American people around me, I was like, this looks really familiar. So it was always very clear to me that as someone who wanted to be conscious about how power was used in the world around me, that I must also extend myself to finding solidarity with people who share that experience and people who could understand that experience. Why is it important to say it now? Well, unfortunately, this is the week where we've seen a spate of gun violent attacks perpetrated by yet another man, American man in society, white men in society, where people are struggling to say, well, was this attack in Atlanta motivated by racial hatred or sexist hatred? And is it a hate crime? And of course, that has very specific legal implications. And I'm not going to hash out for you right here all of the reasons why this is a hate crime. I think there are plenty of people online, particularly public figures in America who are Asian American. They can explain it in ways that perhaps you're able to hear more clearly if you hear it from them, because you can't diss all of them, all of those voices. And I'm not just talking about, Jeremy Lin, the basketball player, but, you go on Google right now on YouTube and you can see literally like they went to Hollywood, every news channel went to find every Asian American they could find to speak about their experiences now in this climate where it's undeniable that stereotypes are harmful. And, the stereotype that women's bodies are expendable is one of the deepest stereotypes in our society, because we put women on a pedestal while at the same time treat them like prostitutes. And so when you see that, when you see such an explicit example of this man had a bad day and needed to cleanse it of women who were contributing to sin, well, those women's bodies were expendable, and particularly Asian women's bodies. Again, I say all this to say that we have to stand up with each other. Peace only happens when we commit to empathizing with the other. And this may sound silly to those of you who, they're like, duh. But I wish there were a way for us to also speak to those who have difficulty with empathy, who have serious issues with listening, particularly when those things that they hear counter their worldview.